Our final part of our integrated course design is called feedback and assessment. I'm going to have another more detailed lecture presentation on feedback and assessment. I think I'll be in week 4. So just a rough overview of feedback and assessment for this particular week. So this is how we get the information back to students, how they do. Again, Bain talks about this in one of his later chapters. We want to focus on mastery, but for the purpose of this presentation, because I'll get into that later, is how do we know if students have learned? I mean, there's got to be a way for us to grade the student. That's what this is talking about. I said earlier, I really don't like grading students' work because to me it's so subjective a lot of times, and sometimes that's good and sometimes that's bad. We do want to give frequent feedback on how students do, and even be generous on the way we give feedback. I probably violate a lot of this information I'm going to give you in the way I give feedback. It should be timely. I do try to give you feedback pretty quickly after you finish formal assignments. I provide written remarks within your Microsoft Word documents, so comments. So look for those. Informational and specific. This means that the feedback back to students should be about the content, and it should be very, very specific. And that gets pretty difficult at times. I know what I expect from students, and sometimes I have a hard time communicating what was missing and how a student can improve on work at a later time. We do formative and summative assessment. The difference between a formative assessment and summative assessment is this. Formative assessment is different assignments designed to help you learn, and then we can give you feedback to help you learn the material. That's what formative assessment is supposed to be about. That's what some of the low-risk assignments for me are. They're formative in some respects, and some of the learning activities in this class and some of the other classes are formative. Then we have a summative assignment, which in most of our classes in the graduate program are the signature assignments. The summative means it's designed to assess your ability to meet the class learning goals or learning objectives, or even at the program level. If it's an athletic training education program or professional program, we have summative things that we expect our students to know, and that's all that content from educational competencies. So there's got to be a final test. Well, what's our final test? That's the NATA or the BOC exam. That's our summative assessment. That's how we know if we've known it or learned it. In our graduate program, our final summative assessment is our comprehensive exams. That's what those are designed to measure, to assess. Is did you meet the program student learning outcomes and the emphases student learning outcomes by the end of this program. We should be able to tell what is good and what is not so good, and students should be able to know how they're doing. That's called the self-assessment. And the last point we're just going to talk about is rubrics. Those who've been in this program know we use rubrics specifically for our signature assignments. Some teachers are better than others with that. There are rubrics for your your signature assignment for this class. And what the rubric is supposed to tell us is what's the characteristics of an A paper and a not so good paper. You'll see in our rubrics It's a 4-point scale, 0 to 4. Where we want all our students to be at is the 2 and above, which means meets the criteria or exceeds the criteria. I think the 1 to 2 is approaching, and I can't remember what they call our bottom one. I'm not sure if it's failing, which is 0 to 1. So basically what a rubric tells you, the student, and me, the faculty member who's grading this stuff, is what do I expect from you on that particular assignment. And that's what I look for. And I can also give weight to each of the elements, or we call it criteria, or components of the assignment. So one particular portion of the assignment's worth 40%, or if it's out of 100, 40 points. So we use TaskStream in this grad program. We use it for both formative assessment and summative assessments. For me, I'm the program director for our grad program. Every year I look at the data that we collect in TaskStream, how students are doing. I can compare each cohort to one another on our program level student learning outcomes and see where we need to make changes in our program. And that means changes in the way we teach. Maybe we're not emphasizing some points enough. And again, we can see that if we have written good rubrics and all faculty assess equally the same, which is another issue. And again, you can have another more detailed information on feedback, how to give feedback, and assessment, and a little bit later in our class. Okay, in our signature assignment for the class, you are expected to say how you will assess the students in your lesson, and that's where I'm going to try to give you more detail about that information in that particular lecture. About, I'm going to give you some rubric examples and some other things you can do. All right. Actually, there's a whole class in assessment in our PE emphasis. So the hard thing about our 750 class is that we really should break this up into 3 different classes. One class would just be on curriculum design, which is what we're talking about in this lesson. The next class is what this class should only be about, which is how to teach. And the third class is how do we assess learning. We have that in the PE emphasis, but we're not going to have that in this in the athletic training emphasis. So I have to try to combine everything in this 1 6-week class. So that's why you're getting so much information in this class.